The story is about Keke and the tall, tall tree. Now, Keke is a boy who grows in a palace. And we are told he would go and he loved swimming and he loved eating and he loved playing with the neighbors. And that was his hobby. And so we are told one day his palace and all his neighbors, they were attacked by an army and a gang of warriors. And the warriors, they came and they destroyed everything, plus the palace and everybody, plus his parents, the grandparents, the neighbors, even the cats, even the horses, all of them, they scampered into safety. And everybody ran for himself. There are times you run for yourself, okay? And so Keke, in particular, he ran into this forest, and the forest was big and thick, and it is quiet. Quiet because there were no human voices or life there. There were just birds. And the birds would chirp, and we are told the mosquitoes were all over, and fly insects and the eagles and the monkeys and the snakes. And there were rivers, not one, but many of them. And the rivers were swollen with a lot of water and fish. And Keke realized, wow. So I thought I had another life. The only life was at the palace. But here there is a different kind of life, but it's bustling with life and teeming with life. Lives of animals, different types of animals. And so Keke had been taught to be brave and to be strong and to stand for himself. It is good to learn to stand and to be firm and to be courageous and to know that you're in control. And so Keke, we are told, of course, he would sit and he would stop and sit and wonder what happened to his family, what happened to the villagers, his friend, Coco. And so at times he would be sad. But he had been taught by the grandmother and the grandfather, never be afraid and never be sad. Always learn when sadness or when you feel fear, replace it with boldness. And so Keke moved in the forest and he would go saying, hey, to himself, I'll not fear. I'm like a lion. I'm like a zebra. I'm like a tiger. I'm like a buffalo. Zebra, we are told it runs. It does not wait to be attacked, but it runs away. A lion attacks. So he looked at every animal and he'd look at the good side of it. And so Keke started living and he got used to the forest life. And in the evening, he would go and look for food and look for insects. And we are told he would go eventually catch some of them and eat them. And he even learned how to light fire, and eventually he got used to the forest life. And because the forest life was good, he told it was nice, and he went on and discovered that there were different types of animals and birds. There are different types of birds, okay? Now, Keke, we are told, one day he went and he started swimming. He swam. And then he went back to his tree. There was a tall tree and it had many branches. And it was secure there because very few animals love going on very top trees, up to the top tree, because they love the lower tree and the shorter trees. And so Keke made a shelter around the tree and he started living there. But one day we are told Keke, he would wake up and stretch himself and encourage himself and say, hey, no one can attack me. Hey, I don't fear. I am the man here. Yes, and I'll not fear. Though I'm alone, I'll not fear. And so he'd go swimming. But one day, we are told, Keke, when he had slept, because he would go swim, hunting, and then come back, and then lie down, and eventually he would doze up and sleep. So one day, well, he had come from swimming. He came and he just dozed off and he slept. And then he dreamt that he was still at home playing, chasing after each other, jumping on top and down the trees with his friends. And then after the dream, he woke up, he took his food, he ate his food, and he went out. But he realized the time he woke up, it was late in the evening. So he decided to take a stroll. It's good to take a stroll. And so he walked around, and remember, it's in a forest. And he went to a lake that was nearby, where he would go and swim in that lake, though there were many rivers. And you are told, by the time he came back, the darkness, it was dark. And so he couldn't figure out exactly where he was going. And so he grouping, at night. But then he would see shining eyes, sparkling and beaming off and off, flickering off and off. And then he was like, wow, what's that? And then we are told he ducked under the tree that was nearby, and he kept quiet. And then he heard movement and footsteps, not one, but many footsteps passing by, and they had big eyes, and they were shining, and Makit was a light. And then Keke, for the first time, he said, wow, he said to himself, wow, what is that? Wow, if it was me. Hey, for once, I would never want to meet with such monsters. And then the monsters, they came because they were in a line, and they were trooping, puchu, puchu, kuku, kuku, and then they were trooping, and then they were trooping past him, and then they bypassed him, and they went off. And they mark you, it was at night, and Keke got up and said, wow, he dusted himself and said, wow, I thought there were only mosquitoes, butterflies, monkeys here around, and other animals. Kumbe, there are things which can move at night. That's why it's not good to move at night. It's good to obey your parents. And so Keke got up, dusted himself off, and started off toward his shelter under the tall big tree. Wow! Little did he know that one of the monsters, the big animals that were passing by, the little one had been left behind. And when he started walking, whom does he meet with? Wow! This shiny-eyed little baby had been left by the others. And then Keke ducked off and hid himself in a hole. But the little monster was crying. And so he went and he discovered, it was only a monster. So it was searching and crying and looking for its parents, who had moved off and gone and disappeared. One of the mothers had forgotten its babies, and so we are told Keke took the little monster, and they took it to his shelter under the tall tree, and they stayed together, and they stayed, and they became good friends. And then we are told the little monster became big, and they were big, good friends, tight friends with Keke. They would go hunting and swimming. And we are told one day they went into the lake, and they swam and they swam. But the little monster that had become now big, a big monster, not very big, but just like Keke, we are told they would swim And it was a good swimmer. And it went and it would go under, deep down under the ocean, under the lake. And we are told one day it would go and grab and get things from under the sea and under the lake, and it would bring to Keke. And because it didn't know what it was, one day it went and got so much gold, we are told, and it brought to Keke. And then Keke, we are told, he was very happy. When he saw, the monster didn't know it was gold, but Keke knew the value because he came from a palace and a wealthy family. And so he was very happy. And he made some boat, and we are told eventually they swam off from that place, from that forest, and they went into a different place that was an island, and they started a new life. And the monster that had grown big, we are told Keke swam it off to the monster's island, and he was left in this island. But he realized he was all alone. And remember, Keke was tough. He would always psych himself and say, hey, I'll not fear. I am in charge. I'll take control. I'll attack and I'll destroy and I'll kill anything or anyone who comes to attack me. And so Keke lived in that island alone. But one day, there was a boat that swam. And wow, who was in that boat? It was his father and it was his mother, and they were still searching for him. Wow, when Keke saw it was his parent, he was very happy. And so he got reunited with his mother and his father, and they swam off with a lot of gold. And we are told, as they were swimming, they met with the other giant, the other monsters. And because of the friend monster who was there, they did not eat Keke's family, but we are told they protected Keke's family, and Keke, they swam and they went and established a new life with the mother.